Okay, welcome back here. So first and foremost, many thanks to my wife. She got me a new camera for my birthday. So hopefully this video is a little better than what I've been getting out of the GoPro. I've no idea what I'm doing, but you know, here we are. I'm willing to learn as long as you are. So let me see where I can put you down here so I can walk you through what we got going on. Ooh, clunk. Yeah, okay. I think you can see. And now, I think if I turn this thing around, I can see what you can see. Look at that. High tech here today. So this is my latest score from Facebook. It is a TR6060. I was told from a Camaro. However, this tail shaft is not the normal tail shaft. The boss here and here for the Camaro transmission mounts is filled in, and there's no bolt hole. And so I'm told that means it's from a Cadillac. Now, I don't know if the Cadillacs use the standard 6.2, but I do know they use the high output supercharged 6.2. So I'm going to assume this is a really heavy duty rated transmission, and I'm not going to remember the fact that Cadillacs also had V6s that you could get with a 6-speed manual and carry on. The good news is it does fit quite nicely. I'll do a little walk around here in a minute. Like I said, I'm still getting used to the camera. So what we've done is we made an adapter plate that bolts into the two holes for the Cadillac. And I went to the store and got a standard Ford truck 4-speed manual transmission mount. And that is Napa part number, you can see it. Let's see if it focuses on it in the dark. Yeah, there you go. And it goes like this onto this plate. This was all well intentioned, and you're going to see why we have a problem here in a second. Besides the fact that the plate by itself probably isn't strong enough. I was going to weld some angle to the end. And then I ran out of shield gas, and this is as far as we got. Because I'm not poor. I don't do flux core. I'm just kidding. Alright. And this bar goes across like so. The problem is, I think you can kind of see on camera, I'm like 6 inches below the frame rail. And that's not going to work. So what I'm going to have to do, let's see if I can get you off of here. Here on the mag mount, is make this into a Z shape so that it can set up here and tuck up in here. So I got a lot of room up in here. So it does fit quite nicely. Got a couple inches there around the bell housing. Got a lot of room, bell housing to firewall, so that'll be good. Plenty of clearance there across the tunnel. I don't know, cab's up way high in the air if you can see it, but I'll give you a shot here down the shifter hole. Lined up pretty well. Obviously I'm going to have to run a shifter relocation. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked for a 6-speed. So that means we can put quite a bit of LS goodness in front of this through that LQ block. So yeah, I'm just going to take the plasma cutter and cut that off and make it into a Z shape so I can get the motor mount. There you can see how the problem is. Sucked up into here, or the transmission mount sucked up into here. And then what I want is for the tube to set on that lower flange of the frame rail. That's the safest way to make one. Alright, you can see what I came up with here. Just a couple of pieces there. I cut that plate in half, split it, put in a vertical. It's just tacked at the moment. So I'll get it burned in. I'll probably put some gussets on the side, and I ended up having to put the bar underneath the frame. Otherwise I was running out of room there. But picking that up almost 2 inches sucks everything up inside there, so I think that's going to look a whole lot better. Alright, there we go. All made up. Welded the snot out of it. You know, they say if you can't weld good, weld a lot. That's what I did. Boy, you can really feel the heat coming off of it still. So it's burned in good. I might dress it up a little bit with the grinder. It doesn't show. So I got to fill a couple holes in that Swiss cheese bar and drill some holes in it. And I'm going to make a detail on the end. It's not a great idea. Oh, that's right. I have telephoto now. I don't have to just reach with the camera. It's not a good idea to just leave an open section like that, especially a thin wall section. Because what happens is as you clamp the bolt down, it'll try to crush. Since the bolt holes are that close to the end, I'll probably just weld a cap. That'll keep the mice out of it too. So I'll get that cleaned up here off camera, get everything ground and smooth a little bit and bolted back together, and hopefully that'll, I don't know, finish off the transmission mount. I'll probably at least get a picture for you. And then I need to pull all this back out and get the block to the machine shop. Okay. Let me find my glove here. So there is the mount. Cleaned up the welds. It's a little warm, so I'm going to wear a glove while I handle it here. No. Oh, yeah, no. Must be at least 20% smarter than your creations to reassemble them. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, and hopefully this piece still fits. One thing about welding is sometimes it can distort a little bit and then it doesn't fit anymore. I tried to tack everything in a couple of locations before I burned it in. Now one of these days I'm going to invest in an actual bending rig for my shop press, but usually all I do is these small little jobs and I need a pretty tight radius most of the time. So it's actually easier to do it the way I have been with the grinder and or the grinder and the welder. Which way is up? Any of my locks are off. I think. I also cap the end of the tube. Ouch! Both of these. So this way, when I tighten up the bolts, it doesn't crush down so bad, which is what it will try to do if you don't. Now, if it was further from the ends, I probably would have made up inserts, but it seemed like it was pretty close and it should be, oh yeah. Fine with that. Sorry, I was struggling there. You're probably looking at the back of my head, and I apologize. I have to wear gloves to try to handle bolts and nuts. Everything is still hot. Hot off the presses, as they say. Or in this case, the grinder. Alright, let's see if we can get this stuff back. This bolt's the wrong size. It's just an alignment pin. This bolt's not, it is too long, but it is the right diameter. And I may beef up these ends a little bit. Because the other problem I have here is somebody deleted all the side support. But there it is. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but I filled all these holes too. And I'm going to let the weight down a little bit. Y'all tell me if it decides to kill me. Yeah, let me let the weight down a little bit. Maybe I'll do it from the outside. And then I'll make my holes for the support there, and should be done. Okay, 4.5, 5 degrees there on the angle finder. Looks like it's setting fine. Yeah. Nice. All right. Get the holes marked here. So much easier than a bottle jack. Okay, there it is. Pick you up here. Probably don't need to. I probably could have zoomed in editing. But there it is, all bolted together loosely. I don't have the right length bolts for any of the connections. It's just together. All the bolts are accessible. I don't think I even blocked the drain plug, which I totally forgot about. Nope, it's accessible. So yeah, I'm gonna get everything out, and then probably sometime later come back and put some triangulation in here, because you can see where it was, and then the torch crew got after it. So it needs a little more structure than that. All right, so spent about 4 hours yesterday with a wire wheel cleaning up the frame here, painting it. I got 2 coats of epoxy primer, which I sprayed all the way up on the firewall there. We're going to color match the top half of the firewall, and you can see once you spray it, you can easily see how rough stuff is. So I don't know how much I'm going to put into cleaning that up, but I probably have to do a little bit. Got the whole underside of the cab. And this is dry. This has been sitting out here in the shop baking all night and all morning. It's almost lunchtime here. You can see it came out pretty nice. Look on the inside there. We sprayed as much of the axle as we could get to. I did not spray the train there, or the torsion bars, whatever you call these, swing arms. Those are going to get replaced. They're really badly rotted. I think you'll be able to see underneath the cab here. It's nice and black. We did not spend a ton of time cleaning up underneath the cab. You can't see it. I did wire wheel off the majority of this rubberized truck bed liner coating that they had on here. I'm still probably going to have to get after it with like a 40 grit on my orbital. And I bought a 6-inch pneumatic one without realizing that all of my pads are 5-inch. So we're probably going to break out the old palms, the old hand sanders for that, because it's going to gum up the paper really bad anyway. But we did get most of it stripped off. So believe it or not, all of that is just Rust-Oleum gloss black. Now I do blend it 3-to-1 with just regular urethane reducer, and I used that one because it was on my shelf. It's left over, and the trick to getting a nice shiny coat is to throw a little bit of hardener in it, just a cap full per couple, do you? And I used that hardener because it was the cheapest one on Amazon. And you can see I only hit this cab corner. I did no prep on this cab corner, but I just came across it when I was spraying out that cross member, and you can just see how it, you know, with a little prep work, even black actually lays down pretty good. You can just make out my reflection in it, and you can't up here where I didn't paint it, so it's not a trick. So that'll get sanded, so I'm not really worried about that. But bear in mind, if you do overspray Rust-Oleum, it sands hard, especially when you throw a hardener in it. So I mean, it's a little rough. I didn't get all the speckle off from the wire, from the welding. I didn't get all the crap off the frame. You know, there's still some rust pitting that we didn't sand out, things like that. So, you know, it's a frame, and this truck has running boards that run the whole length, so you're not even going to see it. This is as much for protection as anything. So I think today's adventure, we're going to start body working the rest of this, get this cleaned up. We've got a sharp spot there. Get this all buried in filler. I don't know if you can see on the camera, the door does stick out quite a bit here at the bottom. It's actually really tight at the top. The right way to do this would be to guide and block the whole thing against the door, fill and block the whole thing against the door. I am not going to do that. I am not that concerned. I'm not building a show truck. So we're just going to kind of smooth it out, get the shape back in it that we want. Like I said, I did pull this out quite a bit when I metal worked it, so hopefully we don't have gobs of filler in there again. I'm going to have some because it's double wrapped. I didn't strip it all the way out to get rid of that lapping. This side was a lot better. You can still see, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, there's a good 1/4 inch of filler there. So I went ahead and got some fiber reinforced. We'll start with that, and that builds up quick, so that should help with that. You can see here we have the same problem where the door's out and then in and then out. So if you were building a show truck, what you would do is you'd put the door on, get the door where you want it, and this door's not shut all the way either. Get the door where you want it, and the rear seam is actually pretty good. And then what you would do is you would fill this whole fender over here until you had it blended nicely with the door. Or maybe these hinges adjust a little bit, I don't know. I'm hesitant to start checking for hinge adjustment because the back is so good. Yeah, they do actually adjust, so maybe I'll just see if I can adjust it a little bit, get it a little better, and then I'll work the fender. That may be the ticket actually, because I think the contour is there, and that may help a little bit with this. So anyway, I'm not building a show truck, but that's today's adventure. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to be able to put the front clip back on, get the inner fenders, the actual fenders, nice mild, the structural Bondo I just saw, and then I can start working on the radiator support slash the front grille. It's all one piece on this truck. There's no core support, and it is in pretty sad shape. I don't know, you can probably see there we got some cereal box repair, and the Bondo's really cracked, and I'm afraid if I just dig into it and start cutting out bad spots, it's going to have so little structure left, it's going to lose its shape. So I want to have all this done on the truck, and it's generally a good idea to do your finish tweaking and body filling on your fenders on the vehicle anyway. You don't want to crack it if you twist them too much, getting everything to line up. So unfortunately that means I have to get this to where I can shoot the cabin primer, because I need to get this all filled in, and then I can primer everything. This Rust-Oleum or whatever that's on it now, 80 grit will knock that out. And then 3 or 4 coats of high build, it'll be fine. Okay, got the fenders all cleaned up. Got a pretty decent edge down there. We went ahead and adjusted the doors. Now this is not perfectly dead straight yet. This is actually a high spot, you can see. It's all going to be inside the fender well except for this little piece right here, and that is really nice. The rest of it, it's a little plus minus. I still got a couple of air pockets in it that I should get out with glazing, but I'm going to go ahead and tack it off and shoot it. I went ahead, since I'm going to mix up some black here for the inside of the fenders, I scuffed them and wiped them down. It just hasn't flashed off yet. If I was going for a perfectly smooth surface, I would go over them with a tack cloth, but There's so much texture in these things. Same deal on the other side here. One of these fenders, oh, I think it's that one. So it's really smooth on the other side, so whoever smoothed it out, all the dents on the other side, did a really nice job. But look at the moon craters. So yeah, she had some good whiskey dents in her. So they did do a nice job on this fender. And I don't know if you can see, hopefully I get the camera, yep, high enough the roof of the cab. We went ahead and scratched the cab up so I can get it in high build. The doors are pretty straight. I know you can see that high spot there, but I'm running my hand over it and I can't feel it. So the door's blocked out pretty nice. The roof, it's got some moon craters in it, like I said. You can probably see them in the light off the camera. I'm holding you way up high, I can't see it myself. So we'll have to get that in high build. Cleaned up the cowl here. Got her all masked off. Pro tip, if it's hot and humid, want to double check your masking. See, just like that. It can move on you. You gotta be careful with it. And you always want to read your directions. And I'm sure you're not going to be able to see it because it won't focus on it. But that says maximum 40% humidity or 50% humidity. I don't know if it's coming through on camera, but it's currently raining, so yeah. It'll be alright. The Rust-Oleum won't care. Alright, 2 coats of paint. You can clearly see it would need a little more filler to get it laser straight, but again, most of that's in the fender, and compare that to the texture it's going to be against. Like I said, I'd have had to completely strip and body work the insides of these to get them better, but they're not horrible. I think probably had some truck bed liner on them, who knows. Looks just fine. Especially realizing once it's inside the fender well, it's not going to have any light shining on it, so it's going to look a lot duller. Now you can see what happens when you don't do any body work. But I think it'll do. Like I said, I'm going to have to get them back on. Wipe the truck down again real good. The tack cloth. And then we'll get the whole thing in high build. Alright, well, good news is, started putting the front clip back together. Pulled the headlights out. The bad news is, this, sorry, so I didn't use my new camera. This is aluminum. And unless you buy the really high-end body filler, it will not stick to aluminum. So what happened was, you can see here, none of this was actually adhered, and as soon as you flexed the grill, it cracked. So you can see they had rebuilt the back of this light bezel. And this feels pretty solid down here. I can't really move it. I've been digging at it with the bar. I'd probably take the grinder and come back and open it up a little bit and pop some of that out of there. But it's so thick. I mean, look how thick this is. So I'm not real sure why. It's not too thick here. Like, I was digging at it here. Here you can see I was digging at where there was a little bit of a crack, and there's bare metal there. Same here. I got down to bare metal here. So I think they just really built this up, and the mistake was the aluminum. And look how thin this is. I mean, I can wiggle it with my hand. There's no structure there. And this side's even worse as far as how much they stuck in there. I'm gonna have to, I gotta take it back off anyway. I wasn't sure how bad the damage was, and I wanted to get it mocked up into position so I could see it, because I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera. Let me try. I don't think you can. I'll show you. This whole side's gone. So I think that answers that question. That is disheartening. So I'll have to figure out how I'm going to fix it here. Alright, here's what I come up with. I pop riveted in some metal. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's a piece of corrugated truck bed liner patch panel. So it's got a lot of groove in it, which will put a lot of strength in here. And I intentionally did not open up the light holes. I think I'm going to do all the filling and sanding and then drill from the back and open them up with the grinder. Started digging into some of these cracks. Just needs a little bit of a top coat. It's pretty rough here at the bottom. That's bare metal right there. So I found a spot that doesn't have any filler. And I see why they had that trim on here. It's pretty rough there, but that's alright. Pretty rough up here. So same thing on this side. And now it's got a lot more strength. And with these rivet heads and everything. And I checked my Bondo Maxi Fill is rated for aluminum and galvanized metal. So my guess is that's part of the problem they had. But that aluminum with a little bit of paint on it, it wouldn't take, because it was not adhered at all. So I'm going to actually get my can of primer. I'm going to shoot some primer, self-etching primer down in here to help chemically cut through that surface, and then throw some Bondo at it. Okay. Went ahead and got the core support in. We ended up drilling some holes there. That is a factory 64 C10 rubber and washer set. I did, you can kind of see, sorry the light's not great, add a spacer and a longer bolt. Started putting the fenders back together here. Boy, it's funny, it doesn't look quite that spotty in person as it does on the screen there, but I did block sand them. Bought these, hang on, I'll get you the brand because you're never gonna guess. Jiaoxi World junk, garbage. Supposed to be a 5/16 standard thread, junk. They won't even thread into their own speed nuts, so I'm gonna have to go to the store and get some serrated washers and nut combos to finish bolting everything together. But it's coming along. Everything's just loose at the moment, but we're starting to get there. Alright, it's been a few days since I got to come out here and get an update on the go. But the cab is entirely in high build. And I gotta say, I think it came out pretty good. I mean, it's not perfect. There's a couple of spots. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera or not, but yeah, it's coming through on my viewfinder. So you get these little air pockets, and that probably was rust originally. But have a look down that fender. Now you might not be able to see it, but there is a little low spot here. I can feel it. And there's a couple on the other fender. Remember, this other fender I had to do quite a bit of body work to. But look how much cleaner and straighter that is. You can't even really see the hooey till you get right down in it, and then you can start to see a little bit of dents and divots in the filler. And there's a couple of scratches. That's okay. This is what your glazing compound is for. If you really want to take tips from me. There's a little bit of a hooey still right here. You can kind of feel it. But other than that, I mean, the doors are really nice. They're really smooth. See if I can get up on top, get you a shot of the cab roof here without falling. Cab roof, got some bird dirt on it, but it came out really good. Again, it's not perfect. Remember, I'm building a driver. I got a little scratch there and a little line there. Glazing compound will fix that right up in a hurry. So I'll throw some glazing on it here before I 400 wet sand the primer. Now this is high build, and I actually invested in, oh yeah, there's a big dent right there. See it? I should go ahead and mark that. I did invest in some guide coat powder, so I'm going to try that with this one. You can eyeball it, you can use the spray paint, whatever. And the hood came out really nice. It's got a couple of spots that need a little bit of glazing. Other than that, it's not too bad. These repairs in the front came out really good. So that's why I like to do most of my body filler below the primer. The pros do it on top, and God bless them. I'm not that good. I like having the primer as a visual when I'm sanding. The other thing you can do is where you're working with the filler, you can spray a little rattle can primer on it too if you really want to see what it's looking like. So yeah, this is probably the worst one right here. Got a little run there. You know, runs sand out really easy. Don't worry about that. This stuff sands really easy. Throw a little icing in some of these scratches here in this filler. They're drag marks. So what happens is if you don't keep your trowel clean, it hardens on it, and then it drags through the filler when you're applying it. And if you sand those out, there won't be any filler left. So I just leave them. I paint them. Not a big deal. Glazing will fix it. We also got the bed stripped down. Got it cleaned up. Got most of the worst of the stuff wire wheeled off of it. I mean, if you wanted to do a total restoration, you'd obviously have to have this sandblasted. That'd be the only way. We're going to go back to bed liner. We're just not going to use the $1.50 a can rattle can stuff from Harbor Freight. I'll use a much higher quality product. So the texture will build on the texture. She's wanting to do a wood floor, so don't worry about that at all. And she's wanting to use it, so if she's wanting to use it, there's no point in making it perfect. Did get the outside, got that dent beat out of it pretty good. So other than that, I mean, it's actually, I mean, you can see we already kind of block sanded it through the primer that was on it. It's pretty straight, so should come out nice. Yeah, so I just want to explain maybe to people who don't know. Maybe I haven't said it, but I really don't like rat rods and patina. Because to me, and you're obviously welcome to disagree, but they're not done. And more importantly, when I see a vehicle that is 98% rust, I really wonder how safe it is. And you can say, well, you know, we're only going to drive it once a year to the parade or whatever, and that's fine. Maybe that's true. But she wants to drive this, and I want to drive them. I'm not going to spend the kind of time and money that it takes to put one together to not drive it. So where we live, traffic is a little crazy, and safety is important. There's a lot of places where there's no exit path. You can't just pull into the ditch. There's a lot of stop and go traffic with pretty aggressive drivers. So that's why the next phase here will be brakes and suspension. But I wanted to make a point that, you know, you don't need, despite what you see on TV, you don't need thousands upon thousands of dollars of equipment to get a vehicle into this condition. So I bought the truck as a roller for $3,500. Ideally, I wouldn't have had to remake the body mounts. That only cost me time. I spent like $100 on a rubber bushing kit. Okay. This is my air compressor setup. Now, I got it free. You don't need one nearly this heavy duty, but you also don't need to spend $5,000 on a screw type air compressor. Okay. This is not a screw type air compressor. It's just a basic two-stage, or single stage actually, pump. Works great. This is the floor. I swept it. I don't even wet my floor down when I paint in here. There's no need. A lot of guys like to wet the floor down because they think it keeps the dust from coming up while you're painting. and it will while the floor is wet, but concrete wicks moisture. It's only going to be wet for like maybe a half an hour, okay? And then it's dry again and you still have the same problem. So just sweep it up. I actually let my fans run. They're not on now, but when I'm painting, the fans are running. You can see all the paint dust on them. They push the air down. So basically, if any dust does get stirred up, and you get a lot of dust just from painting, it's pushed down, okay? And that's what you want. And then the truck's actually up in the air a little bit. Now I have a lift, okay? That was expensive, cost more than the truck. But you don't need a lift to do that. You can do this in your garage with jack stands. Just get the vehicle up off the floor. And if you're really worried about it, you can put a tarp down over the floor. But you're not spraying at 100 PSI when you're spraying this stuff. I put it on at 60. I normally would only use like 40. This was old primer that I had laying around. And it didn't cooperate in the first batch. So I actually started throwing about 3/4 of a part of reducer at it, and then it was flowing better. So that was because it was old. If it had been a new batch, it wouldn't have done that. But you don't need to make a huge mess. You can see all that dust on my lift. That's just residual paint dust. Most of it's on there from painting multiple cars now. So it really doesn't make a big mess. I didn't even cover up my workbench. You can see you don't really get tons and tons and tons of stuff. Again, you can cover stuff up if you want to, but if you're doing this and you're getting tons of overspray, you're using too much pressure. Turn your pressure down. And you can get good results. I mean, yeah, it's not done yet. But to me, this is just so much better than some clapped out rust bucket with a whole bunch of random crap welded to it. You do you. But when it's my money and my time, I'm gonna make it nice. And I don't even have that much money in it, which is where I was going with this rambling. I've probably got maybe $500 in getting it to this point. I just bought another gallon of primer, so that shot me up 150 bucks. So like, you know, a couple pieces of sandpaper, what's that? I don't know, I buy it by the roll, okay? And you can hand sand. You don't even need the fun pneumatic sanders, which actually I didn't even have until this project. This is the first time I've used the power sanders. Did every other thing by hand. It doesn't take a ton of time. And in fact, for me, because the power sanders are so aggressive and I'm terrible at this, like even this fender right here where I was straightening all this crap out, I did it by hand. I just put a piece of paper on a block and went after it, okay? Sometimes it's easier to do it by hand. And again, it's not perfect. It's not a museum piece. I don't claim it to be. Got a little gunk showing through there. Oh good, that's, yep, that's bad body filler. So that'll just get refilled because I'm not fixing that now. It's too late. I didn't see it before. That's the other problem, is you don't always see it till you paint them. In case you're wondering, this is what happens when you don't do body filler correctly. I'll have to fix that. So that's a setback. I wonder if it's like that on the other side. But that's how it goes. Nope, the other side's solid. Weird. What I was trying to show you is that, you know, there's places it's not perfect. And I haven't sanded this at all yet. So it still needs some love. And ideally, I would have taken the rubber out. You can see I got some overspray on it. But, meh. It doesn't have to look like crap. It can look somewhat better. Maybe this still looks like crap, I don't know. So, anyway, enough rambling. It's painted. I guess I have to do a little more body work. Yay. Fortunately, I'm not done with the bed, so it's not the end of the world. Wonder how I'm gonna fix that. I have to think about that. So I get the bed done. My camera is telling me I'm panning too quickly, so I may have to fix that and edit. Get the fenders back on it, get them done. And anywhere that I do any icing, I'll reprime. The next step then will be to get the interior primed and painted. I'm only going to prime the dash where I did the radio delete. The rest of it's in really good shape, so I'll just scuff it and shoot it. But yeah, so 500 bucks, and I don't know, I'm trying to think how much time, probably maybe 100 hours of my time, spread out over, you know, 4 or 5 hour blocks on the weekends here and there. Doesn't have to be fast. I mean, I don't need this tomorrow, but it'll look a lot better. And of course, if you're working at it solid, you know, 8 hours a day, you could crank that out in a week. But yeah, if you're really contemplating getting something painted and you want to try it yourself, I mean, there's tons of great videos on YouTube. I'm not even going to claim to be good at this, but not being good at this and still being able to get decent results, I think speaks for anyone wanting to do it themselves and being able to do it. So you don't need a ton of tools, and honestly, if you go and get an estimate to have a shop paint one for you, basically the tools you do need, even if you had to buy an air compressor, you'd probably still be coming out ahead. And of course, Facebook Marketplace is your friend. Like I said, mine was free. I've put some money into it over the years, but you can get deals. All right, enough rambling. I got things to do. Hopefully you found this helpful. Probably gonna, I'm trying to think how much video I have at this point. Probably gonna end, oh, that probably just looked terrible because I reached across the screen. Probably gonna end this video here. And I'm probably gonna do a separate video on the powertrain, even though I already have some footage of that, and then do another video on finishing out the painting and the priming. It just takes time. It's boring. There's nothing really to film. It's just apply filler, sand, repeat until you're happy with it, and then prime, filler, sand, repeat until you're happy with it. That's really all there is. They're not kidding when you hear people say that painting is the reward for your hard work and the body work. The painting step is a day. So anyway, good luck on your projects, and hopefully you like mine.